Hello and welcome back to another episode of Change Wired podcast. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm your host. I'm your high performance executive, master health, stress management, sleep recovery, and self actualization coach, your partner in change and personal evolution, and just someone who is really passionate and obsessed with human potential and doing our best every day. And most importantly, helping each other to strive for, to reach for that best, uplifting each other. And guys, today we are talking about a very important topic, especially for a high performer. We're talking about the other side of performance, which doesn't actually come that easy to high performers at all, who are hard-working individuals who want to do more and almost occupy every minute of their day, wanting to sleep less, to deliver more, engage with life more, and just do, go, right? We're talking about rest today. Rest, the other side of performance that very often is holding back very capable individuals from truly reaching their best, breaking their own records. For the past couple of weeks, I did an interesting experiment, guys. So I asked 50 founders, business owners, leaders on LinkedIn through DMing them, bugging, interrupting their day. I asked them this question: what do you feel is limiting your performance, your potential, your productivity? And what was surprising to me as how almost every single one gave me the same answer. And what's been even more surprising, it's like, you know that, and most of you don't do that. Like, why is that so? But then I'm also going to share with you my personal lesson. And I'm like, yeah, that's about it. But what did they say to me? They say rest, recovery, sleep. They didn't say, strategy or skill or not doing more. Rest. But again, the craziest part is, like, we know this and we're still having a very hard time doing it, actually doing it regularly. Even, well, maybe especially elite athletes. I just finished reading this book, Peak Performance. Let me find the full name. So Peak Performance, Elevate Your Game, Avoid Burnout, and Thrive with the New Science of Success, written by Steve Magnus, who used to be an elite runner and now one of the elite high performance coaches. And he wrote this beautiful book. The most of the book is about rest, recovery, not about tactics to do more or to do better. And the reason is most high performers, especially athletes who he works with a lot and writes about a lot, we just have hard times resting. And we need data and proof and some kind of permission slip to believe that more work isn't always the answer. Sometimes it's the very thing standing between you, them, me, and our best. Which brings me to a story which Steve also shared in his book on high performance, the story of Roger Bannister. On May 6th, 1954, he broke the 4-minute mile world record, a barrier that some scientists at that time even considered to be physically impossible for a human being to break, because nobody could do it for like years, I don't know, maybe decades or centuries. And this record, it didn't come easily to Roger Bannister. He almost gave up, actually. And before his next attempt, maybe it would be his last attempt, he did something that looked reckless and almost like crazy to the rest of the world. Instead of training harder, he flew to Switzerland for 2 weeks and did no running. He just did some hiking with his buddies. He came home about 3 days before his record-breaking attempt was scheduled, and he also did not train hard. He barely did any running for those 3 days. And then he broke the record. Yes, of course, years of training that he did allowed him to get there. But he couldn't do it. He couldn't run his best until he took that break. Right? Recovery is probably one of the hottest topics in elite performance right now, because research and data shows these days that you optimize recovery and then you unlock the next performance edge. Also, in cognitive domains, scientists and inventors, they knew this for quite a while as well. The breakthrough almost never arrives while you're working hard. It arrives in what is called incubation phase, or after that phase. Work hard, disengage, let your mind go quiet, and the breakthrough idea finds you. That's how it usually happens for the best of us and the rest of us. We have decades of evidence by now, guys. It works for the smartest, most driven people alive and dead, and for the rest of us. I can tell you it works for me. 800 blogs in a row since I committed to writing daily on May 1st, 2024. 1,686 podcast episodes since 2017. Hundreds of bespoke workshops for clients across the world. People will tell me, okay, we need this. I'm going to come up with this in a day or less. 18 years of coaching and a built-out methodology drawn from hundreds of books, articles, certifications, client conversations, a feat most coaches never arrive to in their lifetime. None of that, guys, and more would have been possible without rest built into my work routine. And I still have some work to do on that, as I realized yesterday when I woke up feeling flat and I'm like, oh, I did not take a break for like 2 weeks straight, right? Your brain, my brain, our brains run on cycles. The same way an elite sprinter's body does. You sprint, you rest. You sprint, you rest. The harder you sprint, the more you rest. You get the most out of yourself out of it when the rest matches the intensity of your work. And back to the book, Steve Magnus, a high-performance coach and elite runner, whose book on performance I just finished, Peak Performance, Elevate Your Game, Avoid Burnout, and Thrive with the New Science of Success. He laid out the very good structure that has been proven by experience, by research, for maximizing output, whether that's cognitive or physical work or both. The thing about performance, guys, whether it's physical or cognitive performance, you have the same nervous system governing it all. Whether you are working hard mentally or physically or both, you have one nervous system, one brain, one central and peripheral nervous system that is in charge of that all. Maybe your muscles can do more, but if your brain, your nervous system do not allow that, and actually the hardest fatigue or burnout to overcome is all in your nervous system, in your brain, in the rest of your central and peripheral nervous system. It's not anywhere physically, right? And very often, again, it's like with recovering after injury. Very often what you really need to build up or build out after, again, either burnout or injury is the proper functioning of your nervous system, which is a little bit harder to trace, but we have in research, in experience, enough data to say, like, hey, these practices, which Steve Magnus describes in his book, and Peak Performance, and which I'm about to share with you some of those practices. These practices work, and if you do them, you're going to get really amazing results. So what are those practices for cognitive, mental, physical work? Because again, all of it depends on one nervous system that you have for everything. It is recommended from the best practices in our understanding how our brain and nervous system work. work in 50 to 9-minute blocks. That's when it comes to cognitive performance, right? If you need to focus on something, writing a report, creating content, figuring out solution to a problem, you analyze some data, 50 to 90 minutes, even less if the work is more intense. It requires you to analyze a lot of data. Or maybe you're just not used to focused work, right? It also takes time to build up this muscle. 50 to 90 minutes tops, never more than 2 hours for sure, because your brain releases certain chemicals and it works in such a way, it works in cycles, just like your sleep goes in 90-minute cycles or so. Your brain during the day does the same thing. It needs this periods of work and rest. And the more intense the work is, the more intense the rest has to be. So 50 to 90 minutes, less if you're not used to focused work, less if it's something super intense, less if you've been already going quite hard at it, maybe at the end of the day, etc. Right? So 50 to 9 minutes, 2 hours top. And then take breaks, 5 minutes minimum. The harder the task, the longer the break. During breaks, you got to do something that does not engage your brain in the same way, does not require focus, does not require effort. Walk, sit outside. Nature helps a lot to restore that cognitive and physical capacity. Be social, put on music, take a shower, do the dishes, ditch your phone, which is very important. Sleep 7 to 9 hours. That's when your brain learns, connects the dots, comes up with solutions and ideas that you didn't know about before. Training hard physically as well. Go for 10 hours or sometimes even more. Athletes across the board, when they are instructed and are able to sleep more, outperform themselves on a regular basis. So sleep is really a superpower. Do not sleep less if you want to perform better. Sleep more. Hit a wall mid-afternoon sometime. Maybe you've been working really hard in the morning and you're like exhausted by 11 or 12. Take a nap. NASA research shows that nap, 20-minute nap, what is recommended for performance later in the day, 20-minute nap restores your capacity to perform a lot better than any coffee could dream of. And plus, it doesn't interrupt with your sleep cycle, which you need to rest even better for them to come back to it the next day and do better or your best. Naps are better taken before 4 p.m. so it doesn't interrupt your main sleep cycle. It's a nap. It's great for your performance. And take one full day off a week. Unplug mentally, physically. Do not try to do more, schedule more, figure things out, do all the errands. Like unplug. Take time to just unplug mentally and physically and do something that actually restores you. More stress, more rest. That's what you want to understand about high performance. More stress, more rest. The harder you sprint, the harder your stop has to be. And I recently was reminded of that when yesterday was Wednesday and I woke up and I felt so flat. Like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to work. There is no creativity. I just want to sit and stare into nothingness for a while or take nap, take walks. I just don't want to push. And I remember promising myself at some point, because I noticed those cycles, that sometimes I forget to take my day off for a week or even a couple of weeks. And I would come to the space on one day, I'm like, I don't want to engage with life. Like, I would lose all of it. No inspiration, no motivation, no spark. I just almost wanted to quit. And I learned that this is the sign not to quit, but to rest. And I promised myself that when I feel this, unless I absolutely have to show up, I'll clear my schedule and I'll take that day off. And I was lucky yesterday was a day when I actually did not have to show up for many things. Nothing except things that I put on my schedule myself, no commitments to other people, etc. And I thought to myself, oh, that is so lucky. It is Wednesday. It is not Saturday or Sunday, so it's not like a planned weekend, but I can actually take a day off. And I was really lucky because the next day, which is today, I needed to deliver a talk to women in tech community in Cape Town. And I thought to myself, that is so lucky that it is Wednesday the day before and I can really take some time off. And it is not Thursday when I had to show up, because peak performance is like breaking your own personal record. You cannot force it. You can only do your best by scheduling those recovery periods. That's why elite athletes actually know and plan it out along with their intensive seasons, when they need to train hard, when they need to then compete. They schedule this buffer rest zone before and after, so they, like Roger Bannister, can beat their previous records. And a lot of founders and leaders and business owners that I started telling you about at the beginning of our podcast don't do good enough job, and they know it, to deliver better and to grow from season to season versus burning out themselves more and more and more, to the point where they have to take a lot of time off, and they feel very often they don't want to they want to quit and they don't want to continue. And again, that is the sign of to not quit, and that it's, maybe the time to do something else or retire. It shows you that you need to take a break and you need to take time off, and you need to schedule rest just like elite athletes do before and after intense seasons, in order to do your best and grow stronger and smarter and better from season to season. I remember also reading the book Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, who also coaches a lot of high-performing entrepreneurs on their systems for execution. And I remember reading his book where he also talks about that, how all entrepreneurs committed to doing their very best. When you know intense season is coming, or you have those periods in your year, maybe before the end of the year, or there are certain quarters and times when you need to deliver a lot, communicate a lot with your clients, travel, speak, etc. Then Martel was saying that before that, he looks at the beginning of each year, he looks at his calendar, and he knows those busy seasons. And so before that and after that, he schedules a lot of time off, but especially after that, because he says, well, right before I can't always unplug. So maybe like, especially the week before, but right after and a little bit in advance, he schedules a lot of time off. And that makes sense, again, because we have one nervous system. It doesn't matter whether you perform physically or mentally. Rest is a non-negotiable, especially, again, if you want to grow from season to season, if you want to deliver your best. Back a little bit to my story. So Wednesday, I felt flat. I'm like, okay, I'm clearing my schedule, even though it's not Saturday or Sunday, and I did not officially schedule that time off. But before that, 2 weeks, I did not have any days off, which I still, again, learning to do, to make peace with this idea that I'm not a machine, and there are rules of high performance that actually work across the board quite well for humans and have been proven by people, researchers, and performers smarter and wiser and better than myself. So anyhow, so I took day off. I took a couple of naps. I did walking. I met with a new friend of mine, met up, and I went to bed at like 7 p.m. And in the morning today, Thursday, I woke up like, I'm ready to go. Woo-hoo! Ready to perform at the talk that is scheduled later today. So that was my lucky moment. I'm like, I was so lucky to wake up a day before that. It's like, maybe my body knew, who knows? But I needed that rest. And it is my invitation to you guys to make peace, just like those 50 entrepreneurs who know that the rest, recovery, sleep is something they need to work on. So take a note and re-listen to this podcast episode for the actual protocol of how you deliver your best work mentally, cognitively, physically. Take a few things, put them on your schedule, because if you don't, you're just going to keep doing the same pattern with insufficient or non-optimized or not optimal rest and recovery. And you'll be getting into those burnout modes or just feeling flat in the most inconvenient moments when you actually need to be your best, right? You are this physio electrical machine that you have your rules of functioning, just like every single one of those elite performers also do. So more stress, more rest. That's what you want to take away from this podcast. Take at least one day off. When is it scheduled, guys? And what else? A day off is more sleep, no work, no learning, no commitments, nothing you need to work hard on and feels like push. When I took that day off, I came back and my brain is like this bottle of champagne that is shaking and bubbling with those ideas ready to burst. And that's when you really had good recovery rest period. So what's your personal best or next level goal for your mental, cognitive, entrepreneur performance? What is it right now? And does your rest strategy match the size of your goal, the performance you need to deliver? Look at your calendar right now. When are your intense periods? And do you have sufficient rest scheduled before and after? Just like Roger Bannister, more often than not, your world-breaking result, or at least personal best-breaking result, I think that's the best each of us can hope for. Your best is unlocked more often than not by sufficient rest, right? So when is it? When is your day off scheduled? When is your rest that allows your top performance schedule? And that's what I want to leave you for today. If you want the full protocol, it's also on my blog, which is linked in the show notes. So check it out if you are a reader or just want to skim through it. If you have any questions, reach out to Angela, to myself on Instagram, Angela Brain Body Coach, Angela Brain Body Coach, all one word. And till next time, chill the F up and keep growing into your very best.